Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on OWELEKETV. My name is Jubrin and this is my angle. We are here today with Barrister Austin Manta to actually give you an update of the NLC federal government. Maybe I should call it a face-off. Yeah, it is a face-off, of course. So I think we shall be giving you an update on what is happening and what we should expect. And we shall also be juxtaposing it with the 300% minimum increase, salary increase for judicial officials. I think those are the things we shall be talking about today with Barrister Austin Manta. We hope that, as always, that Barrister Manta will give us, will enlighten us more on all that we need to discuss today. Thank you so very much, Barrister Manta, for joining us once again.
Thank you.
Again, for those of you who do not know Barrister Manta, he is a legal practitioner of about 40 years, not about, precisely 40 years. This year made him, think about a couple of months, a few weeks ago, made him the 40th, made it the 40th year in active practice. So when he is referred to as a very senior lawyer, he is duly referred to as a very senior lawyer who knows his onus. Thank you so much, Barrister Manta, once again. As we delve into the topic of the day, can you please give us an update? I don't know if you have an update for us regarding the NLC federal government face-off.
Yes, the current situation is that, as you are aware from the last, the call-off or the suspension of the strike, in order for them to give room for agreement on the actual listing. We talked about it on this forum last week, and I said then that it was a dubious commitment that NLC should not have succumbed to. When you make a statement and say that the president is prepared to pay a minimum wage of more than 60,000, the more than can be, like I said the last time, can be just 500 naira on top of the 60,000. It was the rejection of the 60,000 in the previous meeting that led to the strike. And then when the secretary of the government of the Federation called the NLC and said, look, the president is ready to pay more than that, they suspended the strike, went into negotiation. Is getting to 1 week now. The latest we hear is that the federal government and the organized private sector, its apartheid meeting, have offered 62,000. So you come back to what I said that time, that was a dubious statement by saying the president is ready to pay more than 60,000. Of course, legally speaking, he has
increased it. Yeah,
he has increased it, but it does not make any sense.
Yeah,
it does not make any.
Well, the rumor of even though we heard that the government has debunked that. What about the 105,000?
That remains a rumor. The official statement from the government is that they are offering 62,000, and the official statement or response from Labour is that they have come back from 494,000 to 250,000. So that is where we are now. The government is offering 62. Labour have come down to 250,000. So if there is no impasse, we are probably going back to the strike.
Yeah, in the first place, that calling off the strike wasn't. Obviously it was hurting everyone, especially the middle class down, from the middle class down more. actually. But however, it was a foolish idea. I noted it last on our last show. It was a very, very foolish idea. You do not, in anything you are doing, momentum is important, especially when it comes to national issue. Momentum is very, very important. They lost that, and I don't think even if they call back, if they go back to the strike, I don't think that thing will, it will no longer hold water. They made a mistake to have called it. Nobody does that. It took you weeks and probably months, not months. It took you months, not weeks, sorry. It took you months, for God's sake, to really, really prepare for that strike. And all of a sudden, the same strike, eventually, you called off the same strike 24 hours after this same strike that took you several months to prepare. It was so foolish. I don't know who, it was ill-advised. I don't know who advised them to do that. Unfortunately, it's a fully, I don't know why multiple heads will be bereaved of common sense. Multiple heads in the sense that it is not the president, NLC president alone that makes decision. It's an entire, we have the executive council that probably involves more than 10 people on board. So it means that okay, obviously it's possible they had some dissenting views in their midst, but probably the ones who chose to go to call off the strike were actually more in number. But honestly, for those who actually were in the and on the side of calling off the strikes temporarily, honestly, their heads actually were just are bereaved of common sense. It was foolish of them to have done that, and they're not going to get anything better good from the federal government. They are not ready to actually do anything. They're not sincere. The problem with the federal government is that they are not sincere about it. They just, especially the government of Tinubu, it just sees, in fact, even the 60,000, he feels he's just doing Nigerians a favor, sort of. So that is just the unfortunate thing. Now let's just oppose it with...
just like you said, I forgot to mention that we have a history of this. It should have been very apparent to Labour that over time, this issue of wages, increase in wages, minimum wage, not just this government, previous government, the government has never been sincere at any point in time. So this point should have been apparent to them. They are in the Labour, they have been here. They know that the government does not go into this kind of negotiations with any sincerity. They want to maintain the privileges of the political class, and giving out more money is like taking away from what they want to
that's the point. We'll definitely, we'll get back.
They never go into this thing with any form of sincerity. And in this case, they had the momentum in their favor. They were going to, by the following day, they had put in place structures to shut down the oil production. And the government was in panic mode. That's why you see them made that statement. This was very apparent. Everybody with sense could have seen that the government was reacting to the threat to shut down the oil production. Labour would have used this to coerce the government for something more tangible,
of course,
more reasonable for the workers.
You
but,
don't.
All of a sudden, before you say that Robinson, they called up the strike.
Yeah, that's the point.
They handed the advantage to government. Already, if you see the comments that are going on, most of which are sponsored by the government, serious attack is already directed at Labour on shutting down the national grid. So you can even see that we are now talking against shutting down the national grid. What if you now talk about shutting down the oil production? You will see that everybody will now descend on you. So they handed over the advantage to the government. They are in a weaker position now.
Yeah, that's the point.
Whether they go forward with negotiations or with strike, whichever one they choose, they are in a much, much weaker position now than
Absolutely. That is why I said, honestly, calling the strike back again, they will not. They lost that support. They lost that momentum. You don't negotiate. You negotiate with your opponent at his weakest moment. That's just the mistake they've made. A sort of at that first 24 hours of the strike, they actually held the federal government in the balls. That they really pushed the federal government to the edge. That's the truth. And that was the position. At that position was when they could have been able to actually squeeze out something tangible from the federal government. But they gave them a breathing space, because at that point they were already choking the federal government. And they released that choke. And now the federal government has garnered momentum to fight it back. I don't know which people, these are supposed to be brilliant people heading NLC or the labor union, the entire labor union. Well, I don't know why they were this foolish, a sort of very, very foolish. There are two possibilities here. It's either they were bribed, they were induced, financially induced, or they are just outrightly foolish, incompetent leaders of the labor union. That's just it. Can we please juxtapose it with the 300? Look at the 300% salary increase for judicial workers. When we say judicial workers, are they just when we say judicial officials, are they all the officials, including the judges, or just the officials outside the judges?
Yes, the increase is only affecting the judges. As a matter of fact, I was in the Federal High Court yesterday, and one of the registrars, they were complaining bitterly that, look, the salary of the judges have been increased. What about them, the judicial workers in the registrar cadre and the court class cadre? In those cadres, the take-home pay is nothing to write home about. And I was telling them that, look, this is the issue in Nigeria. We do not want to consider things and take a wholesale approach, a holistic solution to a problem. If you increase the salary of the judges and leave the judicial workers, you have just solved a part of the problem, because the judges do not exist alone. They do not work alone. They are supported by a complement of staff that help them to perform. So you go and increase the salary of the judges and leave the complement of staff that work with the judges. It's not going to work that way. You have not solved the problem.
Yeah, you see, the problem with this is just a thank you gift to the judicial. That's why I asked that question. I wanted to know the distinction in this. I wanted to identify the distinction in this salary increase, and you have just made it clear to me. It's obvious. It's obvious that this is a gift to the judicial, to the judges. That's just it. The judges has never been this corrupt. This is the corruption that took place after the 20th presidential election. It's just it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented, and that is the reason why Bola Tinubu is just. That's why they did it. The judicial whatever they did it. We've had that issue of complaint here and there over the years. Like judicial our judges are not well paid or blah 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 blah. But it's never been that intense, because it's never been intense, because the judges they make their money. The corrupt ones especially, they make their money. The salaries are just nothing to them, so they make their money through corrupt means, through politicians and other means, sort of through bribery and other stuff or whatever. So it wasn't that intense or whatever. But you can see that the president is saying he's just giving them a gift, a thank you message to the judges, nothing else. They've done well for him. They've given him power from the back door, not from the people. So what do you expect? The president, of course, this is just a peanut compared to what they did for him. Sort of. So And that is just the unfortunate situation here. I don't even know why. Otherwise, what else could one have thought of? What other reason, if not gratification? A sort of, this is just gratification. Why do you have to? The judges cannot, do not, and cannot operate in isolation. A sort of, so the judicial workers are part of the judicial system. Without the judicial workers, there is no judicial system, because the judges cannot do most of these things they write or whatever. The write-ups, the judgments, the research, and other stuff or whatever. They are not, these judges are too lazy. They are too lazy. They are not the ones that does all these things. Most of these judges are not that brilliant. A sort of, they are not that intelligent to be able to do researches, write judgments, and do some intelligent, some really smart stuff on the bench. So it is the judicial worker that does all these things. They are behind the scene staff who are the oil that wheels the oil of judicial wheel. So for the president, from the government to isolate, to distinguish, to separate, to put a wall between the judicial workers and the judges, they lack empathy. That is one. Secondly, it is insensitive, and thirdly, it is wicked. And that is just it. And that is the major reason why people should just view this as a compensation, as a thank you message from the president for what the judiciary did, the kind of the rape the judiciary put on the national polity, a sort of. So that is just it anyway.
Let me add that as long as you do not approach the problem facing the judiciary in a holistic manner, you have not solved the problem at all. The problem of the judiciary is not just lack of adequate remuneration to judges. It's far more than that. The corruption that has eaten deep into the judiciary from the lower cadre up to the highest cadre has been going on for a while now. A corrupt judge will not be satisfied with the salary.
I think we are coming to that. That's one of our topics of the day. We shall actually be talking about that soon in our subsequent topics. Sort of. Yeah. So I think that is just it. I don't know if you have any other thing to add with regard to this topic.
No, we were talking about the NLC, and then we entered into the judiciary salary or whatever. We will take it along the way, just like you said.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Barrister. I think we shall be moving to the next topic. Once again, before we move to the next topic, if you are just joining us, this is JIBRIN Angle coming to you on